I never imagined that a single whisper from my 7-year-old grandson would change the course of my family's life forever. The ballroom was alive with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the soft glow of candlelight reflecting off polished silver. I sat at table 8, my hands folded in my lap, watching my son Alex, so handsome in his navy suit, move from guest to guest, his smile wide and bright, as if he could will happiness into existence. It was his wedding day, after all. His second chance at love. But as I looked at my grandson Leo, sitting quietly beside me, I felt a strange heaviness in my chest. Leo was always a gentle soul, more sensitive than most boys his age. He was pushing his little red toy car back and forth across the white tablecloth, his eyes fixed on the movement, lost in a world of his own. I reached over and straightened his bow tie, a small gesture that made him look up at me with those big, searching eyes. For a moment, I saw his mother, Maria, in his face, her kindness, her quiet strength. Maria had been gone for 3 years now, taken from us in a moment that still felt unreal. I missed her every day, but I tried to be strong for Leo, for Alex, for the family that remained. The room was filled with people, relatives, friends, colleagues, everyone dressed in their finest, everyone eager to celebrate. At the head table, Ava, my son's new bride, was radiant in her beaded gown, her laughter ringing out above the music. She was beautiful, no doubt, and she seemed to make Alex happy. But there was something about her that unsettled me, a certain sharpness behind her perfect smile. I told myself I was being unfair, that I was just missing Maria, but the feeling lingered. As the waiters moved gracefully between the tables, serving wine and arranging plates, an elderly couple at our table turned to me with warm smiles. "How old is your grandson now, Betty?" the woman asked, her voice gentle. "He just turned 7, I replied, smiling softly. "Time flies, doesn't it?" Leo looked up at me, his eyes shining with gratitude as I cut a small piece of cake for him. He took it with a quiet, "Thank you," then returned to his toy car, his shoulders hunched as if he were trying to make himself invisible. I watched him, my heart aching. He had been so quiet lately, so withdrawn. I wondered if the changes in our family were too much for him, if he missed his mother more than he could say. Suddenly, Leo stopped moving his car. He set it down carefully, then reached for my hand, gripping it tightly. His little fingers were ice cold. He leaned in close, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Grandma, I want to leave right now." I felt a jolt of fear. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. He trembled, his eyes wide and serious. "Grandma, you didn't look under the table, did you?" His words sent a chill through me. I glanced down, my heart pounding. Slowly, I lifted the edge of the tablecloth and peered into the dim space beneath the table. There, next to Leo's chair, was a small piece of paper, folded in 4. It was so ordinary, so easy to overlook, but something about it made my blood run cold. I reached down and picked it up, my hands shaking. The laughter and music around me faded into a distant hum. I unfolded the paper, the candlelight just bright enough to reveal the hurried, almost frantic handwriting. "Table 8, add shrimp to the child serving." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Leo was severely allergic to shrimp. Everyone in the family knew it. A single bite could send him into anaphylactic shock. I looked at Leo, his face pale, his eyes pleading. He pressed closer to me, his small body trembling. I stood up abruptly, not caring about the curious glances from the other guests. I hugged Leo to my side, my mind racing. Who could have written this? Who would want to hurt my grandson? And why on this day of all days? I scanned the room, my eyes landing on Ava, who was laughing with her friends, her wine glass raised in a toast. She looked so carefree, so perfectly at ease. But I remembered the way Leo had shrunk away from her earlier, the way he had refused the chocolate she offered, the way he had clung to me when she tried to talk to him. I remembered the unease I had felt from the moment I met her. I turned to Lucy, my adopted daughter, who was sitting on Leo's other side. Her eyes were wide with concern as she saw my expression. "Take care of Leo," I whispered, my voice trembling. She nodded, pulling him close, her arms a protective shield. I walked quickly to the hallway, my legs heavy, my heart pounding. Near the bar I spotted David, the young waiter who had served our table. I showed him the note, my voice shaking. "Do you know who gave you this?" David's face went pale. "A woman handed it to me, ma'am. I just followed instructions." I didn't know. I pressed him for details, but he shook his head, clearly frightened. I thanked him and hurried back to the ballroom, the note clutched in my hand like a lifeline. I knew I had to act fast. If I didn't, Leo's life could be in danger. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. I would not let anything happen to my grandson. Not today. Not ever. I returned to the ballroom, my mind racing with questions and my heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear the music. The note felt like it was burning a hole in my palm. I glanced at Leo, still huddled close to Lucy, his small face tense with fear. Lucy looked up at me, her eyes searching mine for answers. I gave her a reassuring nod, though I wasn't sure who I was trying to comfort more, her, Leo, or myself. The wedding guests were oblivious to the storm brewing at table 8. The jazz band played a cheerful tune, and the waiters began serving the main course. I watched as plates of food were placed in front of each guest, my eyes fixed on Leo's plate. Relief washed over me when I saw only pasta and vegetables, no shrimp. But the fear lingered, a shadow that refused to lift. I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. I needed to confront the situation before it spiraled out of control. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor, drawing the attention of those nearby. I cleared my throat, my voice trembling but determined. "Excuse me, everyone. I need to say something." The room quieted, conversations fading as all eyes turned to me. Alex, my son, looked up from across the room, concern flickering across his face. Ava, too, paused mid-laugh, her smile faltering as she noticed the tension in my posture. I held up the note, my hand shaking. "I found this under our table. It says to add shrimp to my grandson's serving. Leo is severely allergic. If he eats even a small amount, it could be fatal." A hush fell over the room. Some guests gasped, others exchanged worried glances. Alex hurried over, his face pale. "Mom, what's going on?" I handed him the note. He read it, his hands trembling. "Who would do this?" he whispered, his voice raw with fear. Ava approached, her expression a mask of concern. "Is this some kind of mistake? Who would want to hurt Leo?" I looked at her, searching her face for any sign of guilt or fear. She met my gaze, her eyes wide and innocent. But something in her voice rang false, a note of defensiveness that set my nerves on edge. Lucy stood up, her arms still around Leo. "We need to find out who wrote that note," she said, her voice steady. "This isn't just a prank. Someone tried to hurt Leo." The guests began to murmur, the festive atmosphere replaced by a sense of unease. The waiters gathered near the kitchen, whispering among themselves. David, the young waiter, approached hesitantly. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I didn't know about the allergy. A woman gave me the note and told me to give it to the chef. I just did what I was told." "Which woman?" I pressed, my voice sharp. He shook his head, looking genuinely distressed. "I don't know her name. She was sitting at one of the front tables. She had dark hair, wearing a blue dress." I scanned the room, my eyes landing on Ava's younger sister, Gloria. She sat at a table near the dance floor, her face pale, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. I walked over, my heart pounding. "Gloria," I said gently, "did you give this note to the waiter?" She looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Williams. Ava asked me to do it. She said it was just a joke, that it would make Leo laugh. I didn't know he was allergic. I swear." A wave of anger and disbelief crashed over me. I turned to Ava, who stood frozen, her face drained of color. "Is this true?" I demanded. Ava's lips parted, but no words came out. She looked around, searching for support, but found only shocked faces and accusing eyes. Alex stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Ava, why would you do this?" Ava's composure shattered. "I didn't mean any harm. I just wanted to. I don't know, I thought it would be funny. I didn't know it would go this far." The room erupted in outrage. Guests stood up, voices raised in disbelief and anger. Alex stared at Ava, his face a mask of pain and betrayal. "You could have killed my son," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Ava burst into tears, her perfect facade crumbling. "I'm sorry. I didn't think." But it was too late. The damage was done. The trust that had been so carefully built was shattered in an instant. I gathered Leo and Lucy, holding them close. "We're leaving," I said quietly. "This isn't a place for us anymore." As we walked out of the ballroom, the weight of what had almost happened pressed down on me. I glanced at Leo, his small hand gripping mine tightly. I knew that the scars from this night would linger, but I also knew that we had each other. And that, in the end, was all that mattered. Outside, the night air was cool and crisp. I knelt down and hugged Leo, feeling his heartbeat against mine. "You were so brave, sweetheart," I whispered. "You saved yourself tonight." He looked up at me, his eyes shining with tears. "I was scared, Grandma. I didn't want anything bad to happen." I kissed his forehead, my own tears falling. "Nothing bad will ever happen to you as long as I'm here. I promise." Lucy joined us, wrapping her arms around both of us. Together, we stood under the stars, a small family bound by love, resilience, and the promise of a safer tomorrow. The drive home was silent, the kind of silence that's heavy with everything left unsaid. Leo sat in the back seat, clutching his red toy car, his eyes fixed on the passing streetlights. Lucy rode beside me, her hands folded tightly in her lap. I could feel her glancing at me now and then, searching for reassurance, but I kept my eyes on the road, my mind replaying the events of the night over and over. When we finally reached home, I unlocked the door and ushered Leo inside. The familiar scent of lavender and old books wrapped around us, a gentle reminder that we were safe now. Lucy helped Leo out of his jacket and led him to the kitchen, where I poured him a glass of warm milk. He sipped it quietly, his small hands trembling just a little. I knelt beside him, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "You did the right thing, Leo. I'm so proud of you." He looked up at me, his eyes wide and searching. "Will Daddy be mad at me?" My heart ached at the question. "No, sweetheart. Your daddy loves you. He'll be grateful you spoke up." Lucy sat down on Leo's other side, her voice gentle. "You were very brave, Leo. Not everyone would have noticed something was wrong." He nodded, but I could see the worry still etched on his face. I wished I could take it all away, erase the fear and confusion, but I knew that some wounds would take time to heal. After tucking Leo into bed, I sat with Lucy in the living room, the two of us wrapped in a heavy silence. She stared at her hands, her brow furrowed. "I should have seen it sooner," she said quietly. "Ava never liked Leo. She always acted sweet in front of Alex, but when they were alone, she was cold. Sometimes I'd catch her looking at him like he was in the way." I nodded, remembering the countless small moments I'd brushed aside, Leo's reluctance to be alone with Ava, the way he'd cling to me when she was near, the forced smiles and awkward silences. I told myself it was just the stress of a new family, that things would get better with time. But I'd been wrong. Lucy's voice trembled. "Do you think Alex knew?" I shook my head. "No. He wanted so badly to believe he could be happy again. After Maria, he was lost. Ava made him feel alive, but she never cared about Leo. Not really." Lucy's eyes filled with tears. "I wish I could have protected him better." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "You did more than enough. You've been his anchor, his safe place. He loves you, Lucy. We both do." She smiled through her tears, and for a moment, the heaviness in the room lifted. The next morning, I called Alex. His voice was hoarse, raw with emotion. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I never thought Ava would." I cut him off gently. "It's not your fault, Alex. You trusted her. We all wanted to believe she was good for you." He was silent for a moment. "I don't know what to do. The wedding. Everything's ruined." I took a deep breath. "You need to focus on Leo now. He needs you. We all do." He promised to come by that afternoon. When he arrived, he looked like a man who had aged 10 years overnight. His eyes were red, his shoulders slumped. He knelt beside Leo, pulling him into a tight embrace. "I'm so sorry, buddy," he whispered. "I should have protected you." Leo clung to him, silent tears streaming down his cheeks. I watched them, my heart breaking and healing all at once. After a while, Alex joined me in the kitchen. He stared at the floor, his voice barely audible. "I don't know how to fix this, Mom." I put a hand on his shoulder. "You start by being here. By loving your son. The rest will come in time." He nodded, wiping his eyes. "Thank you. For everything." That evening, as the sun set and the house filled with the scent of baking bread, I felt a sense of peace settle over us. We had survived the storm. We were battered, yes, but we were still standing. Lucy made dinner, Leo's favorite cheesy pasta, and we all sat together at the table, the three of us sharing stories and laughter. For the first time in a long while, I saw a spark of happiness in Leo's eyes. After dinner, as I tucked Leo into bed, he looked up at me, his voice small. "Grandma, will things ever be normal again?" I brushed his hair back, smiling softly. "Normal changes, sweetheart. But as long as we have each other, we'll be okay." He nodded, his eyes drifting closed. I sat beside him until his breathing slowed, the steady rhythm a balm to my weary heart. Downstairs, Lucy and Alex sat together, talking quietly. I watched them from the doorway, a sense of hope blooming in my chest. We had been through so much, loss, betrayal, fear, but we had come out the other side stronger, more united. As I stood there, I realized that family isn't just about blood. It's about love, about choosing each other every day, even when it's hard. It's about standing together in the face of darkness and finding the light. And as I turned off the lights and climbed the stairs to bed, I knew that whatever the future held, we would face it together. The days that followed were a blur of phone calls, whispered conversations, and awkward silences. News of what had happened at the wedding spread quickly through our family and community. Some relatives called to offer support, their voices full of shock and sympathy. Others, less kind, gossiped about the scandal, and speculated about what would happen next. I tried to shield Leo from the whispers, but I knew he could sense the tension in the air. Alex spent more time at our house, often arriving early in the morning and staying until Leo fell asleep. He seemed lost, haunted by guilt and regret. I watched him struggle to find the right words, to make sense of what had happened. Sometimes he would sit in the living room, staring at old photos of Maria, his first wife, as if searching for guidance in her gentle smile. One afternoon, as I was folding laundry in the sunlit kitchen, Alex came in and sat at the table. He looked tired, his eyes shadowed with worry. "Mom," he began, his voice hesitant, "do you think I made a mistake? Marrying Ava, I mean. Was I just trying to fill the emptiness after Maria died?" I set the laundry aside and sat across from him. "Alex, losing Maria was the hardest thing any of us have ever faced. You were lonely, and Ava seemed to offer you a new beginning. No one can blame you for wanting happiness again." He nodded, rubbing his temples. "But I should have seen the signs. Leo never warmed up to her. You and Lucy. You both tried to tell me in your own ways." I reached across the table and took his hand. "We all want to believe in second chances. But what matters now is that you're here for Leo. He needs you more than ever." Alex's eyes filled with tears. "I'm scared, Mom. What if I can't fix this? What if Leo never trusts me again?" I squeezed his hand. You show up. You listen. You love him. That's how you rebuild trust. One day at a time. That evening, Lucy brought home a stack of coloring books and a new set of crayons for Leo. She sat with him at the kitchen table, helping him draw pictures of kites and birds and sunny days. I watched them from the doorway, my heart swelling with gratitude for the way Lucy had stepped in, filling the gaps left by Maria and now by Ava. After Leo went to bed, Lucy and I sat on the porch, the air cool and fragrant with the scent of blooming jasmine. She looked at me, her eyes thoughtful. "Do you think Alex will ever be happy again?" she asked softly. I considered her question, watching the stars blink to life in the darkening sky. Happiness isn't something you find, Lucy. It's something you build, piece by piece, even after everything falls apart. She nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. I hope you're right. The next day, Alex took Leo to the park. I watched from the window as they played on the swings, their laughter drifting through the open door. For the first time in weeks, I saw a glimmer of the old Alex, the father who would chase Leo through the grass, who would lift him high into the air and spin him around until they were both dizzy with joy. When they returned, Leo ran to me, breathless and smiling. "Grandma, Daddy pushed me so high. I almost touched the sky." I hugged him, relief flooding through me. "I'm so glad, sweetheart. Did you have fun?" He nodded, his eyes shining. "Daddy said we can go again tomorrow." That night, as I tucked Leo into bed, he looked up at me, his voice soft. "Grandma, will you always be here?" I brushed his hair back, my heart aching with love. "Always, my darling. No matter what." He smiled, his eyes drifting closed. I sat beside him until his breathing slowed, the steady rhythm soothing my own worries. Downstairs, Alex and Lucy sat together, talking quietly. I joined them, settling into my favorite armchair. "We need to move forward," Alex said, his voice steady. "For Leo. For all of us." Lucy nodded. "We're a family. We'll get through this together." I smiled, feeling a sense of peace settle over me. We had been through so much, loss, betrayal, fear, but we had come out the other side stronger, more united. As the days turned into weeks, the wounds began to heal. Leo grew more confident, his laughter returning, his eyes bright with hope. Alex found solace in the routines of daily life, making breakfast, helping with homework, reading bedtime stories. Lucy continued to be a steady presence, her kindness and patience a balm to us all. One evening, as we sat together on the porch, watching the sun set over the garden, Alex turned to me. "Thank you, Mom," he said quietly. "For everything. I don't know what I would have done without you and Lucy." I reached over and squeezed his hand. "That's what family is for, Alex. We hold each other up when the world tries to knock us down." He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "I want to do better. For Leo. For all of us." I nodded, pride swelling in my chest. "You already are." As the stars appeared overhead, I realized that we were building something new, a family forged in the fires of loss and betrayal, but stronger for it. We had learned to trust each other, to lean on each other, to find hope in the darkest of times. And as I looked at the faces of the people I loved most, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. As spring melted into summer, the rhythm of our lives slowly returned. Leo's laughter became a daily melody in the house, and Alex, though still carrying the weight of regret, began to find his footing as a single father again. Lucy, ever patient and gentle, became the glue that held us all together. She was always there, helping Leo with his homework, cooking dinner when I was tired, or simply sitting with Alex in the quiet of the evening, offering a listening ear. One Saturday morning, I found Leo and Lucy in the backyard, building a kite from old newspaper and sticks. The sun was warm, and the garden buzzed with life. I watched from the kitchen window as Lucy showed Leo how to tie the string, her hands steady and sure. Leo's face was lit with excitement, his worries from the wedding night now a distant memory. "Grandma, look," he called, running inside with the finished kite. Aunt Lucy says we can fly it at the park. I smiled, ruffling his hair. That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. I'll pack us a picnic. At the park, the three of us spread out a blanket under a shady tree. Alex joined us after finishing some work at home, and for a while, it felt like old times, like the years when Maria was still with us, when happiness was simple and unburdened. Leo ran across the grass, the kite soaring behind him, Lucy cheering him on. Alex and I sat together, watching, a comfortable silence between us. After a while, Alex spoke. I've been thinking a lot about the future, Mom. About what kind of father I want to be. I looked at him, seeing not just my son, but a man who had been through so much and was still standing. You're already a good father, Alex. You love Leo. You show up for him. That's what matters. He nodded, his gaze following Leo as he ran. I want to make sure he always feels safe. I never want him to doubt that I'm here for him. I squeezed his hand. He knows, Alex. He knows. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, we packed up and headed home. Leo fell asleep in the car, his head resting on Lucy's shoulder. I glanced in the rearview mirror, my heart full. For the first time in a long while, I felt hope blooming inside me. That evening, after Leo was tucked into bed, Alex and Lucy sat on the porch, talking quietly. I joined them, bringing out a tray of tea and cookies. The air was cool, scented with jasmine and the promise of summer rain. Alex turned to Lucy, his voice soft. I don't think I ever thanked you for everything you've done. For Leo. For me. For Mom. Lucy blushed, looking down at her hands. You don't have to thank me, Alex. We're family. That's what family does. He reached over and took her hand, his eyes earnest. I mean it, Lucy. I don't know what I would have done without you. She smiled, her eyes shining with unshed tears. You would have managed. You're stronger than you think. I watched them, a sense of peace settling over me. I saw the way Alex looked at Lucy, not just with gratitude, but with something deeper, something that had been growing quietly between them for months. I wondered if he saw it too, if he realized that sometimes love comes softly, in the form of a friend who never leaves your side. The next day, Leo came to me with a drawing. It was a picture of our family, Alex, Lucy, Leo, and me, standing together under a bright sun, the kite flying high above us. Do you like it, Grandma? He asked, his eyes hopeful. I hugged him tightly. I love it, sweetheart. It's perfect. He grinned, his worries forgotten. Aunt Lucy says families can look different, but what matters is that we love each other. I smiled, my heart full. She's right, Leo. That's exactly what matters. As the weeks passed, our home became a place of healing. The pain of the past lingered, but it no longer defined us. We found joy in small things, shared meals, laughter, quiet evenings on the porch. Alex and Lucy grew closer, their friendship deepening into something neither of them dared name just yet. One evening, as we sat together watching the fireflies dance in the garden, Alex turned to me. Mom, do you think it's possible to find happiness again? After everything? I looked at him, my heart swelling with pride. Happiness isn't about forgetting the past, Alex. It's about finding reasons to smile in spite of it. It's about choosing hope, every single day. He nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. I want that. For all of us. I reached over and squeezed his hand. We'll find it. Together. As the stars appeared overhead, I realized that we were building something new, a family forged in the fires of loss and betrayal, but stronger for it. We had learned to trust each other, to lean on each other, to find hope in the darkest of times. And as I looked at the faces of the people I loved most, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. Summer faded into autumn, and with it, the last traces of the pain that had once threatened to tear us apart. Our family, though changed, was stronger than ever. Leo started a new school year, his confidence growing with every day. He made new friends, brought home stories of playground adventures, and filled our evenings with laughter. The shadow of that wedding night slowly receded, replaced by the light of new beginnings. Alex found his rhythm as a father, more present and attentive than ever before. He and Lucy continued to grow closer, their bond deepening in ways that were obvious to everyone but themselves. I watched them with a quiet joy, knowing that sometimes love takes the long way home. Lucy's gentle presence was a gift to us all, her patience, her kindness, her unwavering support. She became not just Leo's anchor, but Alex's as well. One crisp October evening, as golden leaves drifted past the window, Alex gathered us all in the living room. He looked nervous, but there was a spark in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. "I want to say something," he began, his voice steady. "I know this year has been hard. I know I made mistakes. But I also know that I wouldn't have made it through without you, Mom, Leo, and especially you, Lucy." He turned to her, taking her hand in his. "You've been there for us in every way that matters. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I want you to be a part of it. Not just as a friend, but as family." Lucy's eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, the room was silent except for the crackle of the fireplace. Then Leo, with the innocence only a child can have, piped up, "Does this mean Aunt Lucy is going to be my new mommy?" We all laughed, the sound bright and full of hope. Lucy hugged Leo tightly, her voice trembling with emotion. "If you want me to be, I'd be honored." Alex smiled, his eyes shining. "We're a family, Leo. All of us." That night, as I watched them together, Alex, Lucy and Leo, I felt a peace settle over me. We had come through the storm, battered but unbroken. We had learned that family isn't just about blood, but about love, loyalty, and the courage to stand up for one another. As the months passed, our home became a place of warmth and welcome. We celebrated birthdays, holidays, and ordinary days with equal joy. The pain of the past became a distant memory, a reminder of how far we had come. One evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sun set over the garden, Leo climbed into my lap, his head resting on my shoulder. "Grandma," he whispered, "I'm glad you looked under the table that night." I hugged him close, my heart full. "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." He looked up at me, his eyes bright. "Do you think we'll always be happy?" I smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Happiness isn't something that stays the same every day, Leo. But as long as we have each other, we'll always find our way back to it." He nodded, content, and together we watched the last light of day fade into the promise of tomorrow. If you've listened to our story and it touched your heart, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever faced a moment when you had to protect someone you love, even when it was hard? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If you want to support more stories like this, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and helps keep these stories alive for others who need them. Thank you for being part of our family, even if just for a little while. Remember, sometimes the smallest voice can make the biggest difference. And sometimes, looking under the table is exactly what saves the day. With love and gratitude, Betty.